Hey everybody, this is the Amateur Hour Podcast. My name is Jacob. I've got Deshaun in the house today. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you doing?
We're talking about the NBA yet again. Deshaun pitched this idea to me a couple weeks ago. We're talking about players who we thought were not going to be great. We thought were going to be trash. And all of a sudden, they're playing really well this season. And the rule for this one is that they have to be at least in their third year. So there's no sophomore years where you just have that significant jump like the Devontae Graham type. We're going to talk about players who we thought were going to be trash, but they are playing very well and above their level. So, we'll start with Carmelo Anthony. And when he signed for the Trailblazers, I said on the podcast that I thought he'd put up 10 points and probably 4 rebounds a game. That's probably what his output was going to be this season. And he's really blown me away. Like, I was an advocate that Melo should be on an NBA team, but I didn't think he'd be getting this many minutes. And he's shooting, normal Melo efficiency, about 41%, but he's upped his efficiency from 3. He's shooting almost a career, actually I think it is a career best from 3. He's shooting 42% from 3 this season, putting up 16 points, 6 rebounds, which is, I'm very impressed. And he's been a catalyst in this complete turnaround in fortunes for the Portland Trailblazers this season. They're all of a sudden in the playoff mix yet again after a really bad start to the season, and a lot of it is on Melo, I feel. What do you think?
I agree. I was huge on saying that Melo should have been in the league all of last year. A lot of people saying, he can't play. He just goes and gets his points. I think what he's brought to the team has really uplifted them, and obviously I think they started like 6-12. For them to be in a playoff spot at the moment and progressively getting better, I think is a huge thing that Melo has done for that team. So I agree with that.
Moving on, second player I really want to talk about is Dwight Howard. And when the Lakers were kind of shopping for a center this offseason, I thought that there were other centers that they could really consider. Like, I thought that if you needed a center, you should have gone for Kenneth Faried in the offseason, who is still out of a contract, I believe. But they went for Dwight Howard. I thought he was going to be garbage for the Lakers, like kind of how he was the first time he was there. But he's really shocked me in this subdued role where he's not getting as many minutes as normal. He's not putting up as many shots as normal, but he's doing what he needs to do on offense. He's putting up the worst points of his career by far, but he's being a smart player. He's being a team player on this roster. He's getting his boards. He has 7 rebounds a game in 20 minutes of time per game. 7 points, which again is the worst of his career by far, but he's playing his role. He's dogged on defense, and he's doing what he needs to do. This is a former Defensive Player of the Year. So, actually 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. So, no question he's a good defender, but he's really filling in the role, and he's really playing very nicely, fitting in with that second unit on the Los Angeles Lakers this season. What do you think?
I agree. I wouldn't have seen him as like a bad player or someone that I didn't have high expectations for. I thought that was exactly who the Lakers needed, and I thought he was the best available center in terms of rim protection and coming off the bench. But to see what Dwight Howard has done once again, similar to Carmelo, like he's helped the Lakers a lot. He's actually playing similar. I believe him and McGee are both like playing 24 minutes exactly, or like they're right around.
Dwight Howard's at 20.
20? Okay, well they're like right around like very, very similar minutes. And Dwight Howard's kind of playing the more important minutes at the end of the game. Which I think is a testament to how hard he's worked.
JaVale McGee's playing only 16 minutes a game. 16, 17 minutes. So, Dwight Howard, even though he's not starting, he's getting more minutes than JaVale at center. So that just shows you how well he has been playing this season. Do you have anybody you want to talk about?
Yeah, so my player is a 4th-year player, Brandon Ingram. I personally, when Brandon Ingram was drafted, they talked about how he was going to be very similar in his playing style to Kevin Durant. So, lengthy 7-footer, can shoot off the dribble.
That's his player comparable for sure. Kevin Durant.
Yeah, that was his player comparable. And then the first couple seasons I just didn't see it from him. And last year with LeBron, like he was very efficient and he went from 16 points to 18 points. And his efficiency went from 47 to 49. But he left something to be desired. Like I didn't think that he had that real superstar capability that he was kind of showing this year. Where this year he straight up balled out. Like he's once again at 49% efficiency, and his points and everything he's doing is incredible. To be honest,
the jump's insane. Yeah, he's an MIP candidate.
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
jump is crazy, and I think that has to do with him switching basically from full time as a small forward to now full time as a power forward. Because now he is class at power forward. That's where he's starting most of the games for New Orleans. Mm. So I think.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think he's succeeding at the 4 rather than the 3?
He's a bigger guy. Like I don't know. Like I think.
You think because he's like more of an ISO scorer? Do you think he's taking advantage of the more immobile defenders at the power forward?
Exactly. I think exactly. He gets a lot of his points at the rim. Like I said, he's shooting almost 50%. So definitely going closer to the rim, it's easier to score.
Well, obviously,
yeah.
He's shooting really well from 3 though. He's shooting a lot from 3 all of a sudden. He's shooting. Instead of 1.8 attempts per game from 3, he's shooting 5.7 attempts per game. And he's become a lot more efficient, which is insane because usually when you huck up a lot more shots, you get less efficient. That's a big one. I didn't think, I thought Brandon Ingram was going to be better. I didn't think he'd be this good. I didn't necessarily think he'd be trash, but I thought he would not. I did not think he'd be putting up 25 plus a game. This is ridiculous, especially on a garbage New Orleans team. Next player I want to talk about is the Tsunami Poppy, Kelly Oubre Jr.
The cutest man in the league.
He's putting up 18 points per game. He's a highlight reel player. He's dunked on Paul George.
Baptized him.
5.9 rebounds a game. Shooting pretty efficiently, 45%, 33 from 3. That can be a bit better, but Kelly Oubre is hooping this season on an up-and-coming Phoenix Suns team. It's another one I didn't think he'd be trash, but I didn't think he'd be this good. And I spoke with Colin about this guy before the season started. I did not think he would be putting up numbers quite as good as this. And I know he had a good year last season, especially after he got traded to the Phoenix Suns. I don't think Washington should have traded him, especially in the position that they are in. But Kelly Oubre has excelled in this new role as a 24-year-old on the Phoenix Suns. Definitely has surprised me with how talented he has been. Highlight reel player and is in-game and out point scorer.
Well, Kelly Oubre and I believe it was Austin Rivers were traded for Trevor Ariza, and like everyone thought of like that as a nothing trade. But Oubre, when he used to go against the Raptors in the playoffs, like he'd be really competitive. Like I thought he'd always be like a really good player. So I think it's just about the opportunity now to start and then play with the guy like Devin Booker and Ricky Rubio's feeding him passes. And I think he's showing kind of what he can do. Like I always thought he would be a really good player.
Do you have anybody else you want to talk about? Okay. I have a couple more players I want to talk about. Next one on my list is Alex Caruso, who's a highlight reel player, a little bit this season, but a lot at the end of last season when he was getting those minutes after he got promoted from the G League. Highlight reel player, big time social media presence in terms of people talking about him. Alex Caruso, the GOAT. All the jokes about comparing him to Michael Jordan and LeBron James, but I thought, it was all talk and this guy was going to be absolute garbage this season. Like, wasn't even going to be playing for the Lakers, but playing every game, virtually every single game, 20 plus minutes. And I know the points aren't very flattering, 5.4 points per game, but when you watch this guy, dogged on defense, puts in the work, and just knows his role. Like, what everybody in the Lakers knows is their role on the team, and he's another guy. I thought he'd be garbage, was not even going to be on the roster, but showing his worth on this Lakers team, I've been a little bit impressed with him. 35% from 3, 44% from the field. Those are fine numbers for a guy playing in this kind of role.
I agree. I watch every Lakers game, and Caruso, like, I'd actually consider getting his jersey. Like,
I'd get his jersey.
I love watching the guy ball. He just has so much fun, and like, he literally gets like if you've seen Danny Green's like handshake with him, they have a random drug test handshake, which like pretty jokes. But
No, when Danny Green had that one dunk.
Yeah, that one dunk got drug tested. And Caruso at the offseason pick where he looked jacked. He looked like a monster and he got drug tested.
Oh, the Photoshop. Yeah, the Photoshop picture. And all of a sudden he got drug tested. So I remember that.
It was funny. Like, and man, he's a very humble guy. Like, so it's nice to see him.
Yeah, I've seen videos of him out in public. Super humble guy, like super good with fans. 100%.
Yeah. So it's nice to see that, he's getting the recognition and he is balling out. Like, he's very good on defense and he's still cocking that joint and banging on him.
Yeah, you give him the opportunity, he's gonna bang it. He's gonna bang it.
So it's crazy, and I like to see the Cruz GOATs, Michael Jordan's father. I just love to see him ball out like that. Like,
shout out Caruso. You are appreciated on the Amateur Hour podcast, Mr. Alex Caruso.
If you ever hear this, Caruso, just remember, we appreciate you.
We appreciate you. And the final player I want to discuss today, a player that you are very fond of, Deshaun, and I'm sure you'll love talking about him, Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose.
How do you feel about me bringing up D Rose in this conversation?
I think it's a little, like, I don't know if he's exceeded my expectations because I think right now, what's he averaging, 24 points per game or 23 points per game?
Derrick Rose?
Yeah.
16.5.
Okay, so it's down. Okay. But, like, he averaged 18, 19 last year. So, like, I don't really know.
18.
Like, I didn't see his production dropping. Like, I
didn't think he'd be this good. He's impressed me a lot on the Pistons. I didn't think he'd follow up last season again with a strong performance, especially on this Detroit team. But as a sixth man, playing very well. Definitely in the discussion for sixth man of the year, but he's not going to win the Lou Williams award. But he's been impressing me. I didn't think he'd be this good. This is like kind of what I just wanted to throw in, just because I've had my expectations exceeded with this guy, and I wish all the best for Derrick Rose, and I hope he can continue to play like this because he deserves to be in a talent in the NBA, and he not many people work as hard as he does to be in the position that he's
I agree, and it sucks that he was cheated out of so many like years in his career, and it's crazy because Derrick Rose he would have been a perennial all-star. He would have been, playing along MVP caliber.
He's the youngest MVP in NBA history.
Exactly, but I'm saying like he would have continued to play along the MVP caliber. Like you could be talking about Derrick Rose with 2 or 3 MVPs instead of just the one. Chicago probably doesn't even trade him if he doesn't, keep getting injured.
No, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's nice to see Derrick Rose ball and be healthy for 2.5 straight years. It's really, really nice to see. So,
one question I have about Derrick Rose, just kind of I saw this a while ago. What is more impressive, being the youngest MVP at, how old was he? 22? 21. 22 years old, being the youngest MVP, or being the oldest MVP.
35.
I think it's Michael Jordan at 35. I think Karl Malone also won it at 35. I'm not sure which one was older, but what is more impressive to you?
I think the youngest MVP. Like, I think we see young guys come into the league now, and like they're not even all-stars. So to be in the MVP conversation, like, is crazy. Obviously, as you know, like, for example, like, I think LeBron's like MVP basically every year he plays, just because he's the most valuable guy in the league. But LeBron will always be in the MVP conversation until he does not have a basketball in his hand. Like, just because he's LeBron James.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with those two guys. Like, it's Michael Jordan. Like, he will always be in the MVP conversation.
But to be an MVP that young, you have to be so great to put yourself in that position.
Exactly.
Whereas LeBron starts the season and Jordan started the season in that conversation already.
Exactly.
I like that point. I'm going to agree with that. But we'll end it on that point. Thank you to Deshaun for joining me again for this episode. If you have any episode suggestions, you can let us know on Twitter or Instagram at AmateurPDC. You can comment on YouTube, Amateur Sports. Follow on Spotify, Amateur Sports. And come back soon because we post every single day to keep you up with the sporting world.